What is up, YouTube? I really no idea how to make this introduction. This is my first video, so cut me some slack. My English, I might stutter. That's what I'm trying to say. And in this video, it's gonna be what if Deku stayed quirkless? Part 1. And also, just FYI, if you see the picture turn black and then turn back on again, I apologize. Uh I have no idea how to fix that. But for now, let's jump into it. So Deku is 4 or 5 years old and he goes to the quirk doctor only to find out that he does not have a quirk. And for the first couple of months, Deku is devastated. And he is picked on by Bakugo at school because he's quirkless essentially. So nobody has any respect for him. And this continues for a long time. But one day, Bakugo hurts Deku. And the parents are called and Deku's mom comes to school to pick him up. But as Deku is leaving, Bakugo yells, "You are quirkless, and you will never be a hero." But his mom does not hear this, but Deku does. And Deku breaks. He snaps and he freaks out. He yells to Bakugo, "I don't care! I don't have a quirk, but I'll still surpass you. I'll still be the #1 hero. Just you watch!" As his mom picks him up and, well, basically leaves at school. That day, Deku goes home after visiting the hospital because the Bakugo uses quirk on him, so of course he's gonna be injured. But point is, he goes to the computer, and instead of looking at that one video that he always looked at growing up, instead he looks at what type of martial arts to use, whatever type of martial arts. And at this point, Deku is training in martial arts. He's also studying on how to improve his physical body, how to improve his vision, how to increase his smell, his hearing, his everything, basically, all of his senses. And he also builds more connection in the mind. And I'm sorry, I'm about to go into a lot of science right now because what I mean by connections in the mind is this boy has perfect memory. Because in the brain, a bigger brain does not mean that you're smarter. It just means you have a bigger brain. But the more connections you have to nerve cells, like the more strings, the more you're going to be able to deduct things faster because there's more connections that lead to. It's like having multiple paths to one destination, essentially. So Deku is smarter. He has not somewhat perfect memory. And what else does he have? Oh, I'm making him up. Not making him up. Oh, he has incredible physique. He's strong. He's fast. He knows the pressure points in the body, so he knows what's the target, what to hit right, and etc. And Deku goes on, but let me explain his training regimen to you. Because how does he get battle experience? And he is gonna get battle experience. So during the school year, Deku does some hard, but not as really hard. Like I'm about to die and stuff training. Don't get me wrong, Deku's training hard because he has to show Bakugo that he was serious about that. But so after school, well, Deku goes to school, and after school he would go into the park and he would train. He would do some push. He would just put not yet. He would put a lot of stress on his muscles so he could go home and have a good diet and eat, etc. So he is training and stuff, but when the summer comes, that's when the hardcore training comes. Deku Deku goes to the forest and he trains there. At this point, Deku can catch and eat, and what I mean by that, it means he can kill, he can hunt, he can get some food from the forest, and he won't die, and etc. He lives in the forest, but every once in a while, he sends a letter to his mom saying he's okay, I'm still alive, I'm not dead, a bear didn't eat me. But Deku in the forest is training really hard, and since this is a world of quirks, and well, if you don't, how do I explain this? Even if he doesn't have a quirk and he trains his body extremely hard, he's still going to be at a very unfair advantage. So here's what I'm going to do. Deku is a master of martial arts. He also knows how to use a lot of weapons, and he's developed a few techniques. What techniques? For instance, he has learned how to control bloodlust. He's learned how to suppress it to the point where he's basically invisible. Well, not literally, but you get the point. He is invisible to any and all of his opponent's senses. He also has developed. What do I say? He's also has developed an ability to strengthen his bloodlust. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Strengthens his bloodlust to the point where he you can almost see it. You can feel the bloodlust. And there are many stages to this. The first level, you just fear. Oh my god, you feel like someone has a hold on your heart, and you're wary of everyone. You're anxious. The second stage is fear. You are scared to the point where you can barely move. But then, you're scared, but you're still able to move and stuff. But it's just you're super scared. And then there's absolute terror. And this is the one that it's similar to what Stain used to Endeavor and Deku, Ida, Gran Torino, all those people in when Stain was getting captured. And Anime Junkie calls it black bloodless binding, and that's what I'm gonna call it here because that's the only way I can remember it. So bloodless binding is where your opponents are paralyzed in fear and they can't move and stuff. They're pretty much panicking. So here, what's not here? My bad. At this point, Deku has an amazing hunter, but he, but he's still not exemplary perfect. What do I say? Sometimes bears sneak up on him. In this case, one time a bear snuck up on him, and this is huge, 7 foot bear. And I don't know how tall bear is, but since it's a world of quirks, I'm not gonna doubt that there's not a 6 foot bear, 6 foot, 7 foot bear out there. So let's say a 7 foot bear snuck up on Deku while he had his guard down, and takes a swing. And Deku, since he's currently relaxed right now, immediately turns around and with the sword he had on his with the sword he had in his hands, he turns around and swings it. But instead of cutting it or pushing it back, the bear's arm goes flying backwards. I'm not gonna. I'm not saying that it fell off or anything. No, it's just pushed back, and so is the bear. And Deku's confused by this. What just happened? And well, he takes care of the bear. Not fairly easy. It was difficult, but he still took care of the bear. And at this point, Deku's 10. So, he took care of the bear, and well, he keeps thinking back at the thing he did. How did he do that? 2 years later, and Deku finds out he finds out what he did, and he makes it a technique. He cleans it up, makes it stronger, works on it, and he calls it counterattack. If you ever watch the Seven Deadly Sins, it's like full counter, except this doesn't reflect magical attacks. It reflects energy. What do I mean by that? I mean he reflects. I mean not even reflects. He absorbs the force behind the attack, and it travels up his weapon or up his hand if he's doing physical, which will hurt him a lot, by the way. But up his hand or sword, and then before it can reach, but when it reaches the end of its travel, the sword has absorbed all of the impact, or somewhat, and that's when Deku pushes the impact, the energy back towards the person, and because of this ability, he enters a world of possibility. What I mean by that, he learns how to control the energy in his body. And I'm not saying it's like sparking lightning energy. No, 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 no. But he does know how to add additional force into attacks that would have not hurt. That would have not done as much damage. Now, combine this with pressure point hitting, this boy's a beast. So, one day, Deku is coming back from school and he's attacked by the sludge villain. And, well, the sludge villain. Oh, he sees the sludge villain coming and he jumps out the way immediately, as fast as he can. And the sludge villain's impressed of this boy's speed, but he's like, no matter, I'm still gonna take your body. And he keeps attacking, keeps attacking, keeps attacking. And then Deku tries to punch him, but then he realizes that he's made of something, of sort of sludge. He can't land a good solid hit on him. And then Deku falls back and says, and smiles. I guess it's time to test out my new technique. And at this point, the sludge villain is on edge, because to this point, they have yet to one up each other. They're both at even stance because he keeps moving, and the sludge villain can't be basically hurt because he's untouchable, basically. So Deku reaches into his backpack and pulls out a sword. And then the sludge villain starts laughing. You really think you're gonna hurt me with a sword? No physical attack can hurt me. And then Deku smiles. Good thing this isn't an attack. And the sludge villain brushes this off like he's bluffing, and he charges straight at Deku. And Deku has gotten to a stance. His sword is on the opposite side of his body. So if it was on his right arm, it's on the left side, as his left leg is also behind his right leg, and his right leg is in front. What I mean is, he's in a stance where he can swing, like swinging a baseball. Baseball. What the fuck? Swinging a baseball bat. There we go. And as soon as the sludge villain is on top of him, Deku smiles and says, checkmate. Deku swings the sword, the Bowie knife, and it hits the sludge villain. And the sludge villain is like, that's not going to do anything on me. And then the sludge villain is sent flying like 4 feet. At this point, the sludge villain is like, what the hell? How did you do that, kid? What's your quirk? And then All Might pops out and says, I am here. And Deku looks back and says, do not intervene. Immediately, as soon as All Might is like, and All Might is caught off guard like this, like, what? Don't you want me to save you? My bad. That was an alarm. And then All Might's like, don't you want me to save you? And he's like, this is my trial. And and All Might is like, what? Trial? And it's like, if I cannot defeat this villain, then I have no chance of being a hero. This is what Deku is going through his mind. Deku is still a happy and cheerful boy, and he's essentially just more confident and he is calm in high tense situations. He's not up tense. Well, he can be, but he like brushes it off and says, focus, boy. And he can get really serious and work really hard in moments. Well, that's what he does in the series, but what I mean is he's much more intense when he is serious. Yeah, there we go. And his thought process change. And All Might is just like, oh, fine, kid. But if things get ugly, I'm jumping in, whether you want me to or not. And Deku is just fine. And at this point, Slytherin is like, whatever that was, it must have been a fluke. It won't happen again. And the Slytherin charges at Deku again, and All Might's getting ready to save Deku, and Deku's like, did you not learn the first time? And Deku is immediately goes back into the stance and goes and yells out, counterattack! And again, the sludge villain feels like he just get hit by a wall this time. As the sludge villain hits the ground the second time, Deku yells out, double force! So what essentially happened is, until this point, Deku has been reflecting his attack. For instance, he's just moving his attack towards him. He's not adding any force of pressure on it. So it's not really twice as strong. It's just his own attack. So for instance, in All Might, if All Might were to throw a punch at Deku and it was a 100% punch, I mean, not a 100%, a 50% punch, what Deku was doing at the beginning of this fight was throwing back that 50% punch. Exactly 50%. But what he did right now was he sent the 50% back, but he also had it his own 50%. But he can't like and magnify his attacks. He's only adding much more. So like if right now instead of it being a 55 of a 50%, oh my god, hit me. In this case, if the sludge villain got hit with 1.5 the amount of strength he got hit back, and that's essentially just half of the original strength added onto it. My point is, he was hit with more force than he sent back towards Deku. And the sludge villain is laughing. Because even though he was sent to the ground, and he is shocked about that, what Deku doesn't realize is that it broke. The Bowie knife shattered. Because on both attacks, the Bowie knife was put in high strain, and it was a fragile Bowie knife. Like this is the one he was using since he was a kid, so it was destined to break, and it broke. And it's just like, you have the absolute worst timing. And now Deku is forced to fight with a broken sword. And the sludge villain is like, what was that, kid? Checkmate? Nah, looks like that's my line now. And the sludge villain charges one more time. Only for Deku to chuckle. Shut up. I'm not going to lose! And you remember when I said that Deku can reflect it with his arm? And remember when I also said that it would hurt him? Well, this Deku's not afraid to get hurt. Like, so Deku with the broken sword swings towards the sludge villain. Sorry, I froze there. And he says, counterattack! Full power! 4 times! And he absorbs the entire impact. All the way from the rest of the blade down to the hilt, down to his wrist, his elbow, all the way to his shoulder. And it bounces back. But right now, it's bouncing back with the increasing tension in his arm. So if it's in his shoulder, when it bounced back, the top part of his arm, his tricep, gave additional force to that. Then the bottom part of his arm, I do not know how that's called, so gave another additional force, all the way down to his arm, giving more additional force into the attack. And, well, the sludge villain is just pop. The sludge villain basically shattered. Not shattered. He was blown away, quite literally. Like what All Might did with the Detroit Smash. Except Deku did it with his reflect counter. Not reflect counter, my bad. His counter attack. And All Might cleans it up and says, "Kid, that was very impressive. You have a nice quirk." Before All Might can continue, Deku quickly comes it off. "I don't have a quirk." And then All Might's just like, "Wait, what? But you were using one. That counter attack, was it?" And he says, "That was not a quirk. That was a technique I built up during training. That's why I'm not breaking the law right now, like you were going to say, right?" Oh, also, Deku, since he is much smarter now, he also has almost Sherlock level deduction. And if you don't know who Sherlock is, this man, and I'm talking about Sherlock, not Deku, this man can tell what you had for dinner, where you've been in the last 72 hours, and if you cheated on your girlfriend by looking at you in 5 seconds. But give Deku that because that would be way too OP, and I want him to steadily grow over time because I like those type of theory. I like those type of series. So Deku can tell he's just a very high class detective. And so Deku deduced that All Might was going to say that, and All Might's very impressive. Not only are you strong, but you're smart. And All Might is debating whether or not to give this boy his quirk, but he's running out of time, so he says, "Well, I must be off then now," and he jumps off. But remember, Deku is still quirkless in this timeline, so that means that as much as Deku, as much as Deku is confident in himself, he still wants to ask the big question to All Might. So he grabbed to his leg, and All Might tried to push him off, and then was like, "Oh wait, I'm gonna kill him if I do," and well, he made it to the building, and Deku's right there, and he goes, "I'm sorry for grabbing onto your leg, but you were about to take off, and I'm not that fast." And then All Might goes, "Yeah, hurry up, kid. Hurry up, kid. I'm kind of in a hurry." That's when Deku asks the question, "Do you think I can be a hero without a quirk?" And then Small Might appears. And so Deku goes into that shock moment where, wait, are you really All Might? And not Deku. All Might explains what happened with his injury and how he lost. How did he survive that? I don't care what symbol a piece of that. How did this man literally survive a literal hole in his stomach or chest? I don't even know. Well, point is, he explains it to Deku, and well, they have the conversation, and All Might is about ready to say, "Kid, I have another secret, and I would like to tell you." And this is basically the secret of All for One. No, not All for One. One for All. And they hear a massive explosion. And well, this is where never mind. Let me quickly just summarize what happened. Not summarize. Let me go through the. I still got. I'll give it 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. 22 more minutes. So the point is, Deku and All Might rush over there as fast as they possibly can, with Deku carrying All Might on his back because he's in Small Might form. With I think his name is Toshinori, but I'm still gonna call him Small Might. So Deku is kind of fanboying that he carried his idol all the way to a crime scene. So Deku makes it there. Deku puts down All Might, and then he rushes to the front to see what's happening. And then he sees the sludge villain, and he's like, "Oh man," because he feels guilty that he caused this. And then he sees Bakugo. And that same situation happens where Deku moves without thinking. But this time, as he's moving, he's like, "Well, since I'm moving, I might as well help." So he does start to think again. And Deku pulls a stick out of the ground and goes and yells out to the sludge villain, "Hey, Slimy! Round 2! Begin!" And the sludge villain is freaking out. Like, the kid who defeated me before is back and he's about to kick my ass again. I need to hurry up and escape as soon as possible. And so, right now, Bakugo needs some time to breathe. So, Deku knows this and he rips a piece of pipe off out of the ground. He jumps towards the slime villain and he smacks him in the eye. And you're hearing the sludge villain in pain, but he let go of Bakugo enough where he can breathe. And Bakugo takes a deep breath in. Oxygen, finally! Piss off! And then you hear a massive explosion roaring through the city. Boom, 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 boom. Essentially, Bakugo is boosting himself out. And Bakugo slipped right out of the sludge villain. And the sludge villain tried to grab Bakugo again, but with Deku on top of him doing counter attack, I'm gonna call it reflect counter because that sounds more. It sounds. It sounds better to me. So with his reflect counter there, it's hard to block. It's hard to do. So eventually Deku does get caught by the slime and he's like, oh well, this is the end for me. Well, not really. He's still not gonna give up easily. But that's what Bakugo's thinking. Well, he's dead. And Bakugo's about to jump right in before he sees All Might in his buff form charging at the slime villain, saving Deku, rip him his head off, and then go Detroit Smash! Absolutely obliterating the sludge villain. So the same situation where... Wait, my bad. So, Deku is swarmed by the press. And they're all impressed, like, how did you do that? What's your quirk? And stuff like that. But Deku just says, I'm quirkless. And I want to be a great hero. And I know what you're thinking. A quirkless kid cannot be a hero. But you're wrong. And I'm here to prove that. And Deku just runs off before anybody can scold him any further. Well, they're not, like, pressure him any further. So he runs off, and, well, while he's walking home, Bakugo says, thank you, and hands him a piece of gum. And so it's like, I don't owe you anything now. And let me just quickly summarize I'm just gonna summarize Bakugo's and what's his name? Deku's. Oh, my bad. Bakugo's and Deku's relationship, and literally one word: frenemies. And what I mean by frenemies is that they're rivals, and but they're not necessarily enemies. They're more like rivals. Yeah, rivals. Yeah, that's the word. Friendly rivals. So, well, Deku walking home, eating some gum, bumps into this massive pillar of muscle, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I did not mean to." And then he looks up, and it's All Might, and I'm just like, "All Might, this is the second time today." And so, All Might explains the quirk one for all to Deku, and then asks Deku, "Would you like to accept my quirk?" And Deku's like, I just told the world that I was going to be the first quirkless hero. What should I do? And then Deku goes and he has a light bulb moment. Deku realizes, I can still inspire quirkless people. He looks up to All Might and says, I will accept your quirk on one condition. And All Might says, what condition? I will not tell the world that this is a quirk. I will only tell them that I have developed a technique that allows me to control the energy in my body to an incredible amount. And well, Deku's not lying. What I mean by this is that Deku does have a technique to control his body, to his body's energy. I mean, like, I don't mean like, oh, he can hit harder now. No, I mean like, this boy has glowing hair and punching, and his strength is like 20 times stronger. That's what I'm talking about. But he doesn't use it because it strengthens his body. So he basically has his own version of one for all, except it's not one for all. It's not a quirk. So he accepts one for all, and well, he trains. He trains with it. So for 1 month, he is training with All Might in the cleaning up of. You know what? I'm gonna leave off this thing, but I'm just gonna quickly say that in 1 month he cleans it up because of all the training before. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit a like. I'm not asking you to subscribe, but I hope you do, and have a good one.